Funny intro joke. What's up, dogs? It's Cameron with Venus Theory, and today we're here to take a look at Kilohearts The Works bundle. So, originally, if you're a Cubase user like me, you'll know my pain here. I was looking for some kind of filter plugin outside of Cytomic's The Drop, because that's very CPU intensive after a while. So I reached out to Kilohearts asking about their filter plugin, which was only $20. So I was like, that's dope. And they were nice enough to send me literally everything. So if Kilohearts, if you guys see this, thank you again, because that was amazing. And I'm super happy with these plugins. But anyways, today we're going to be taking a look at some of my favorite plugins from this bundle. I filmed this video a couple weeks back after I first got these, and it was like 2.5 hours long. So I decided just to wait a couple weeks and kind of find the ones that I really enjoyed and got the most mileage out of. But if you guys want to see any of the other plugins in this bundle in their own video, just let me know and I'd be happy to do that. And the Kilohearts synth, I will be doing a separate review on in the near future. So without further ado, let's dive into Cubase and get started. Alright guys, so today we're here to check out the Kilohearts plugin bundle called The Works, and these are some of my favorites from this bundle, and I kind of just wanted to go over them and what they look like, what they do, and what they sound like. So probably my favorite out of all of these, surprisingly, was the Distortion. So I've got a little 808 sample here, and without the distortion enabled it sounds like this. So the Distortion from Kilohearts, it's really cool because it gives you a couple different modes, and why I wanted to show this plugin first is just because of the UI and a couple other things. So you get different modes, and it's very easy just to flip back and forth. There's no like stupid sub menus or anything like that. And the other thing is when you hover over different knobs, it'll tell you, what that does. So if you're like me and you read the manual and you get super into it, and then like a week later you totally forget what it does, it'll just tell you, which is awesome. So the 808 sounds like this. But this saturator, it's like probably one of the most musical saturation plugins out there. And you can hear it just adds this nice weight to everything. And the other cool thing is this dynamics control, because, distortion inherently will remove dynamic content. So this allows you to kind of add that back by adjusting this control here, which is really great. So, I can saturate stuff like 808s that do need that kind of dynamic, fall off, and not just totally overdo it and then have to sit here enveloping 808 hits for 6 hours. The overdrive mode is great as well, especially really hard. So it gives you that kind of like super heavy sound. Fold back is awesome. Fold back is when it goes above the zero line, it just folds back into itself. Sine, which I'm not super familiar with what it does, but it also sounds really cool. I like that one a lot on really heavy like neuro basses. And then hard clipping, which is always good. You can also adjust the spread here, which applies bias differently to the left and right of the signal. So you can kind of spread it out a bit more, and then you can adjust the bias, which is really great. So next up, I wanted to show a couple other ones, in particular, Faturator. So when I went on the Kilohearts website, a lot of people were just raving about this, so I had to check it out. And this is like one of the coolest distortion plugins ever. So you get 3 different modes. You get drive, fuzz, color, you get a mix knob, and then stereo turbo. I'm not exactly sure how the stereo turbo works, but I think it's similar to their distortion where it applies the bias differently. I'm not super sure, but anyways, so I've got a bass sound here and it sounds like this. So nothing too crazy, but the drive and color in particular just really add some awesome weight to basses. And the fuzz is great as well. And the mix is great to have too, because it allows you to kind of rein it in when I don't want it to be so crazy, even though I want a very heavy distortion on something. This leads us into filter, which is the whole reason I got into this in the first place. So filter is really awesome because it's just this, and it's like, how usable is that? And especially for like writing automation and stuff, it's so easy. And the notch filter is like the one thing I was after, and it works so well. And I'm really happy with this filter because with something like the drop, which I used a lot previously, you know, it's very CPU intensive. And it's like I can load 10 of these filters over here and not have a problem whatsoever. And then you get a bunch of different modes. You get band pass, high pass, low pass, you get shelves, and then a peak. And then you can also turn the peak into like a sort of notch if you want it as well. But it's a really great filter. And I hate to keep using the word musical, but, you know, like it's just a very all around good filter that just works and it does what it says it does. My one gripe with filter though, let me get this other plugin open here. So they have this thing called ladder filter, which I believe is emulating the old like Moog synth filters. So this is just a low pass filter and it has the saturate enable button and you can control the drive and the bias. And I really am curious as to why they didn't include this in filter. I mean, keep in mind, I really have no idea how you would code a plugin, so maybe this is just really difficult. However, I would like to see these kind of combined into just one plugin, you know, where I would like to have the saturation control in here because filter overdrive, for whatever reason, just sounds really good. So next up, the one I wanted to show is Compressor, and this, kind of for the same reason as the overdrive, is it's so simple to use, and it includes sidechain, which is awesome. I always appreciate when plugins do that, and really great sounding compressor as well. So it's very transparent, and that's a lot of the key with a lot of these Kilohearts plugins is they're not meant to model like analog gear or this or that, and there's no bells and whistles. It's just a workhorse, you know, utility, get it done type of deal, which is awesome because it ends up saving me a lot of time because I don't end up, you know, fiddling around with 7 million stupid things. So we've got this drum loop here and compressor. And you can hear it's just very clean and transparent. The delay as well is really, really fun. It includes ping pong and ducking, which is really awesome to have right in here because this allows the delayed signal to duck out while the original signal is playing. So, you know, for stuff like vocals and percussion loops, I really like this because I don't have to set up a delay, send, and then sidechain that. As always, you've got your feedback control. You can switch between milliseconds and sync, ping-ponging, which is always fun, and then panning, which is really fun to automate, especially on stuff like percussion loops or hi-hats, you know, just to kind of move that delayed signal around. So I'll show you what this delay sounds like now. And again, I would really like to see some kind of saturation with this, just because I like saturated delays, but maybe that's just me. The limiter, I just wanted to bring this up. I haven't used this all that much, but I do actually really like this for stuff like groups, because you guys know I like to do a lot of layers, especially with stuff like drums and percussion. So, you know, putting those into a bus and then throwing a limiter on that is really great. And this limiter, for mastering when I tried it out, I didn't really care for it, but, you know, as like just kind of a group smasher, it works really well. Get rid of that delay. So without the limiter, and you can see I've got it going pretty aggressively here, but it's really not screwing up the sound all that much, which is really great. So this brings us to Snap Heap, which is kind of the whole point of the Kilohearts plugin. So what this is a kind of their own architecture of, you know, being able to do all this stuff within a single insert slot, which is awesome. So you get 4 serial buses, and then you can also flip them to be parallel, which, how neat is that? On top of this, you get LFOs, you get macros, you get envelopes, you can control stuff by pitch, you can control stuff with MIDI. So, I mean, this is like the ultimate super flexible, do whatever you want with it tool. So I've got a bass sound up here, and I really like using this to create those kind of like big modulated basses that I use a lot, because I can tie LFOs to these filters and it'll all kind of just do its own thing. And we could flip these into parallel. And one of the cool things you'll see down here is this latency. So, you know, by doing all this, we are adding some, but this snap heap will actually correct that for me, which is like super dope. And it just saves a lot of time with having to worry about, you know, phase and stuff like that, especially if I'm, you know, layering this with another instance of itself doing something else. Ring mod is one I really wanted to like. And, if anyone from Kilohearts ever sees this video, please fix this. So in Ableton, there's the ring mod, and I really like Ableton's ring mod to be able to do stuff like this. And, you know, kind of create that thing going on with the bass. But the problem is this only goes down to 10 hertz. So if Kilohearts, if you guys see this, please make this go down to 0, because that would be like the ultimate awesome thing that I really want to be able to do without having to use the Cubase chopper, because that thing's kind of a pain. So finally, I just kind of wanted to show off why I really have been enjoying these plugins, because, you know, like I've said, they're all so transparent and they're also, you know, easy, and it makes a lot of my sound design processes like very quick. So I've got just kind of a loop here. All these sounds are from my sample pack. So this is some kind of like melodic piano thing. And then I just reversed it. So what I've got open here is a bunch of different plugins. So we've got the pitch shifter, a reverser, which is really cool. So this allows you to do reverse delays without having to bounce out the delay signal and then reverse it. I've got the chorus, which is really nice. The reverb, which is now probably my second favorite reverb, behind the TAL 4 reverb, which is free, but this is a really great reverb as well. My complaint with this, though, is it has this dampen control, but it doesn't have like a high pass or low pass or any kind of like reverb EQ, so I'd really like to see that get built into here. And then finally, just the stereo. This is just a stereo enhancer. So with all this on here, I've turned that piano sound into this. So kind of a cool big droney thing, especially if you mix the reverb all the way. So I really like those plugins because you can hear, you know, even with all that stuff going on, it doesn't really totally change the timbre and just the feel of that sound. You know, it does exactly what it says it does without messing up what I'm trying, you know, to keep in that sound. Finally, the last one I wanted to talk about is Multipass, and I kind of missed out on this. So you see this is very similar to the snap heap. So what Multipass allows you to do, instead of snap heap where, you know, you just put stuff on to the sound, this allows you to do band splitting, which if you're really into like band split basses and stuff like that, this is an amazing way to get that done. And you also get pre and post effects. And then on top of that, very similar to the snap heap, you get the LFOs, envelopes, pitch, and MIDI. So I've set this up here. You get 5 different bands that you can affect, and I've just put a bunch of stuff on here. So instead of that old reverse piano sound, now I have this. So you can create some pretty insane things using this, and I really do enjoy this on basses when I do decide to do something with band splitting. And then finally, my favorite part about all of this, so, you know, they gave me the Works bundle with every single thing, and the thing that really sold me on why this is so great is it includes Snake. So you could sit here and you know, improve your mix quality. This is probably the most transparent and usable of all of their plugins. I know as soon as I started playing Snake, my world tour sold out in about 46 seconds. And then the, you know, you got a little scoreboard and everything, and you could sit here and waste time when you can't figure out what you're going to do in the DAW. So that's pretty great. But anyways, so those are some of my favorite plugins from this bundle. And again, if you guys want to see any of them more in detail, definitely let me know, and I'd be happy to make another video with an overview of other plugins. And that's it for this video, guys. So thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. As always, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys again soon.